My name is Joe. I was 24 at the time, and this happened when I moved to a small town just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I had just gotten my first real job after college, and I couldn't afford anything fancy, so I rented a small one-bedroom house on a quiet street. It wasn't a bad area. Most of the houses around me were owned by older people, the kind who stayed inside most of the day. I lived alone. No pets, no girlfriend, no roommates. At first, it felt peaceful. That changed about 2 weeks after I moved in. The first time I noticed the car, I didn't think much of it. It was a dark-colored sedan, maybe black or dark blue. It was parked across the street from my house, facing directly toward my front door. I remember noticing it because it wasn't there the night before. I figured it belonged to someone visiting a neighbor. But the next day, it was still there. Same spot, same position. I left for work around 8 in the morning. As I backed out of my driveway, I glanced at the car. The windows were tinted. I couldn't see inside. Still, I didn't think much of it. That's the thing about situations like this. They always start small. Over the next few days, I kept seeing the car. Morning, night, sometimes when I got home late, it was still there, just sitting quietly across the street like it belonged there. I started to notice something else, too. Every time I stepped outside, whether it was to check the mail or take out the trash, I had this strange feeling that I was being watched. You know that feeling, when you don't see anything but something feels off. One night, around 10 p.m., I stepped outside to throw away a garbage bag. The street was empty, no cars passing, no people, just that sedan. I paused for a second and looked at it. That's when I saw it. A small flicker of light inside the car, like someone had just turned off their phone screen. There was someone in there. I didn't take another step. I just turned around slowly, went back inside, and locked the door. That was the first time I felt it. Real fear. But even then, I tried to explain it away. Maybe it was someone waiting for a friend. Maybe they worked night shifts. Or maybe I was just overthinking it. That's what I kept telling myself. Until things started getting worse. A few days later, I came home from work and noticed something strange right away. My trash can had been removed. It was usually by the side of my house, near the fence, but now it was sitting closer to my front door. I looked around the yard, nothing else seemed off, but that car was still there, that same dark sedan. That night, I made sure all my doors and windows were locked. Around midnight, I woke up suddenly. I didn't know why at first. It was just one of those moments where your body wakes you up for no clear reason. Then I heard it. A soft noise. It sounded like footsteps on gravel. My bedroom window faced the side of the house, right where the trash can had been moved from. I stayed completely still, listening. Then I heard another step, like someone was trying not to be heard. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my chest. I didn't move, I didn't even breathe properly. After a few seconds, the sound stopped. I stayed awake for hours after that, staring at the ceiling. When morning came, I checked outside. There were footprints right under my window. That was the moment I knew something was very wrong. I called the police later that day. They came, took a look around, asked a few questions, but there wasn't much they could do. No cameras, no witnesses, no clear evidence. They told me to stay alert, maybe install a security system. That night, the car was gone. For the first time in days, the street was empty. And somehow, that made it worse. Because now I knew whoever was inside that car was no longer just watching from a distance. They had moved closer. 2 nights later, I woke up again, but this time it wasn't footsteps. It was a sound I'll never forget. A slow, deliberate knock on my front door. I looked at the clock. It was 2:17 a.m. No one knocks on your door at that time unless something is very wrong. I didn't move. I just sat up in bed staring toward the hallway. Then another 3 knocks, louder this time. I grabbed my phone and quietly dialed 911. As I held the phone to my ear, I heard something that made my blood run cold. The doorknob, slowly turning, like someone was testing if it was locked.
I whispered to the operator, trying not to make a sound. The knocking stopped, but I could still hear breathing right on the other side of the door. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. By the time they got there, whoever it was had disappeared. I didn't sleep at all that night. A week later, I broke my lease and moved out. I never saw the car again.
This happened when I was 19. My name is Alicia. I had just moved to Los Angeles for college. It was my first time living away from home. I rented a small studio apartment about 10 minutes from campus. It wasn't the safest area, but it was affordable and I didn't have many options. I didn't know anyone there, and that was probably my biggest mistake. The first time I saw her, I didn't think anything of it. She was just standing across the street from my building, near a bus stop. She looked normal, maybe mid-30s. I noticed her because she was staring at me, not in a casual way, just staring. I looked away quickly and went inside. I told myself it was nothing. But the next day, she was there again, same spot. This time, I felt uncomfortable. Still, I ignored it. Days passed, and I kept seeing her. Every morning when I left for class, every evening when I came back, always standing somewhere nearby, always watching. At some point, I realized something. She wasn't just randomly there. She was there when I'm around. She knew my schedule. That's when things started getting scary. One afternoon, I came home earlier than usual. I'd canceled classes that day. As I walked toward my building, I felt that same feeling again, like someone was watching me. I looked around, and there she was. But this time, she wasn't across the street. She was standing right next to the entrance of my building. For a second, I didn't know what to do. She greeted me. "Hi, Alicia." I felt real fear inside of me. I had never told her my name, so how come she know my name? I didn't respond. I just walked past her quickly and went inside. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely unlock my door. That night, I didn't leave my apartment. The next morning, I checked outside before going to class. She was there, looking up at my window. That's when I knew she knew exactly where I lived. It got worse from there. I started finding things outside my door, small things, a piece of candy, a folded note, once a photo. It was a picture of me walking into my building, taken from across the street. I called the police. They told me to avoid contact and report any direct threats, but she never threatened me. She just watched. One night, around 11 p.m., I heard something outside my door, a soft scratching sound, like someone dragging their fingers across the wood. I just sat on my bed, staring at the door. Then, a whisper. My name, Alicia. I covered my mouth so I wouldn't make a sound. The doorknob started turning, slowly, just like someone testing it. At this point, I was soaking in fear on my panties. The next day, I packed everything and left the house. I didn't even tell my landlord. I just left. I never saw her again after that. But sometimes, when I'm walking alone, I still have that feeling that someone is watching me. And I can't help but think, maybe she never really stopped watching me.
My name is Kevin. This happened when I was 28, living in a rented house in rural Pennsylvania. It was cheap, that's why I took it. No close neighbors, just trees and a long dirt road leading to the property. At first, it felt peaceful. Then it started. Things being slightly out of place. Chairs moved. Doors being open after locking them. I thought I was just forgetful. Until one night, I came home and saw the back door slightly open. I was sure I had locked it. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and checked the house. Nothing. No one. But something felt wrong. Like I wasn't alone. A few nights later, I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen. That's when I saw it. The basement door. Open. I stood there,
staring at it. Then I heard something, a faint movement from downstairs. I didn't go down. I just backed away slowly and locked myself in my bedroom. The next morning, I checked. Nothing. But I knew someone had been there. That night, I stayed awake. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps inside the house, moving through the hallway. I called the police immediately. They searched the house, and this time, they found something in the basement. A sleeping bag, food wrappers, bottles of water. Someone had been living down there, watching me for days, maybe weeks. I moved out the next day. They never found who it was, and sometimes I still think about it, how close they were, every night, while I was sleeping, just one floor below me, waiting, maybe trying to get at me. I don't know who that person was, and that is the part that still haunt me till today.